So let's talk about Amarillo. Well, this has kind of gone through the projects, but basically, the project has to be financially feasible for both us and the community. We look at a multi-purpose event venue with mixed-use development. We're looking at a hotel. When facilities, site selectors, the event planners look for a place to hold, places to take their conferences, they look for hotel rooms. Presently, the folks at the CVB, they provide buses. They used to provide a whole bunch of buses. Apparently they're down to 2 because the cost has gone up. The difficulty to attract people to use the Civic Center is because the number of hotel rooms that are downtown. The ability to redevelop a hotel downtown not only provides benefit to that Civic Center, but also the other hotels, which will, as more projects come, as more of the venue is used more, they provide a benefit to them as well. Urban lifestyle living. Presently, I think you have less than 50 units that are downtown. A market study showed
2 of them are here tonight. Yeah.
the potential is for several hundred over the next few years. That can change the nature because to be successful, you have what they call different time of day uses, meaning you have to have people at the location at different times of day to provide traffic so that people will want to use it. And they come for different reasons. They may come for a conference. They may come because they live down there. They may come because they work down there. They may come because they go to school down here. There's a number of reasons why people may come. They may come because they stay in a hotel. Any number of things. Our goal is between the time we signed the agreement with the city in August is to assess the multipurpose event venue and the hotel. We're going to look at the cost of development for a rehabilitation, repositioning of the Herring, or a new ground-up build. We're going to take a look at the location and positioning and development costs associated with the multipurpose event venue. And people think of it as a stadium. The common trend right now has been, because they recognize that all you have is a baseball stadium, you have 48, maybe 50, and depending on what league you're in, up to 60 to 70 home games per year. That's it. But if you have something that's more like a Dell Diamond, that's more like Whataburger Field, you can have activities that are there that are closer to 150 to 200 events per year. You have a facility that's used for more than just baseball. And some of those will still be baseball. They may be college games. They may be people coming from a variety of different aspects to have events. But it can be used for different things. We're going to work through that, identify what the scope is. At the last meeting, we had people come up and say, let's talk about an aquatic center. We have an interest in an aquatic center. Would you look at that? Well, that's not presently part of our contract, but we'll certainly investigate that element and work with the city to determine whether or not that's something that should be considered. One of the things about that aquatic center that came up was a little-known business that y'all may have heard of that's called McDonald's. Well, when the founding member's wife passed away, she put a lot of money from the Kroc Foundation into the Red Cross for aquatics that provides grants for up to 50% of the cost for aquatic centers to develop and up to 50% of the operational costs. That may be something that could qualify for it. We don't know. That's part of some of the stuff that we're going to be looking into as we come back to the city. Ultimately, it has to make sense financially for both us and the city. You wouldn't want a developer that came in and said, guess what, we really want to lose money on everything we do. We wouldn't be around very long. And you don't want a city that does that. And that's why you have a city that has a AAA bond rating and the 3rd lowest tax rate in the state of Texas. We're going to bring back a project budget. We're going to bring out operators for these 2 venues. We're going to take a look at the anticipated public and private impact of these projects. We're working with the AEDC. They have a couple different models as they go out to estimate impacts, as they have done to bring projects like Bell Helicopter and others to work with them on a means of identifying the benefits of the community. We're going to come back and take a look at what public and private funding strategies we can bring to the table. We've identified a couple different programs. In 2009, the city, through their legislative efforts, created the ability to use hotel occupancy tax off of the hotel, the 7%, that the city collects, provide that back to it. We've also worked with the city to create an enterprise zone, which administerially can capture the state's portion of that hotel occupancy tax as well. Are those public funds? Yes, but those are public funds that when you stay in the hotel, it's a tax that you pay, and that helps go to pay for the construction of it. One of the benefits is we look at the development of a rehabilitation of the Herring. Let's use that as a ground-up build. If it's a historic renovation, one of the attractions to that is you might be able to use historic tax credits. You might be able to use new market tax credits. Why is that important? Those tax credits help bring private dollars to the table. So we are looking at a variety of funding sources on how these projects can be funded. People will ask you, well, why don't you have a number yet? If we had a number, then they criticize your thing's already vague. We're going through a methodical process. We're holding public meetings. These are the first set of meetings that we're holding. In late June to early July, we're going to come back to you, say, this is what we told you we're going to do. And then here's what we've done since that point. Here's where we're at. Here's what things are starting to shape up at. We don't want anyone, at the end of this, when we get ready to make a recommendation to the City Commission, up or down, however it goes, to be credibly able to say, I knew nothing about this. We're not asking people to come in here and say, I agree with you. We want you to be skeptical. We want you to ask questions. We want you to ask thoughtful questions and questions. If something can't stand up to reasonable questions, we shouldn't be doing it. But by the same token, we ask people to come with an open mind. We ask people to be thoughtful, and that way we can move forward in the evaluation. That will help us determine a path forward. If the city maintains, by the way, the complete control and the decision-making over any vote that would occur if there were dollars that had to be raised and there was a general obligation bond. That's the city's, under their city's purview to be able to call it. Decision factors, it has to be market feasibility. We started with market assessments. The city actually did a market assessment for the hotel about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago maybe. Then recently, an independent market assessment was done on the minor league baseball multi-purpose event venue. We're going to be working to make sure that we can show whether or not the direct benefits project makes sense, that the city receives more than it would experience in the cost to participate in the project. Furthermore, we don't want this project to negatively impact the city in lighting, sound, and safety. We're going to work with the police department to do a safety assessment, or in traffic. Our keys to the path forward, clear communications, open communications. We've had a number of meetings, small meetings, individual meetings, small group meetings, open meetings. We're going to continue to have those. We're going to lay out specific goals, as I hope I've been able to do this evening. This project, for it to work, as I hope I've demonstrated, have to create synergies. You have to create things that together can be larger than they can be separately. Flexibility. In Town Square, Sugar Land Town Square, we have amended the plan about a half dozen times, and the project is still a success because we focused on the key principles. What we're trying to accomplish, and that's what you do here. Sound business premise, I've already gone over several times. Strong public input ties to first clear communication and vision. And coordination with the city. Right now, there's a civic center facilities assessment. I will not try to say that real fast. It's underway. That's important because that needs to be done about the same time as we're finishing this, so those things can be dovetailed nicely together. Where are we at presently? To start this process and to evaluate, we need to make sure that we identify the operators. We also needed a qualified team to help us do the cost estimation and design. As it moves forward, we need to make sure that we had team members that had experience in historic renovation, land planning, sports and entertainment, as well as hotels. We put out an RFQ. Another big criticism you'll hear when someone comes to town is, I bet they don't use anybody local. The first thing we did on the architectural firms is we reached out to every single architect that was on the city's list, every single local architect, and then we reached out to a number of the larger firms. What we had was a return of 8 responses to the RFQ. And from that, we picked 3 top ones to interview. And each one of those 3 had a local firm as a part of that team. We're going to start then with this team on board to do the site assessment for both the hotel as well as for the multi-purpose event venue. And then we've engaged a firm called Robert Charles Lesser and Company, which does market assessments, because as this moves together, then other commercial uses, other types of retail, it's not going to change the mall. It's not going to change what's on Sonsi. But there are other things that may benefit from this as it moves forward. We want to determine what the depth is. what types of uses could go there, and the absorption rate over time. Kind of gone through most of these items. Ultimately, our presentation is the conclusion of the recommendations to the City Commission not later than mid-August. And why mid-August? Because if something is placed on a vote, on a ballot, where the residents do need to vote because it's a general obligation bond or something like that, then we need to have a pre-clearance with the city, with the Attorney General's office by mid-August, so that's why the time. This is a graph that shows that there's a variety of steps that go through this process. February 15th, where we signed the development agreement, the creation of LDC. We've had a number of site visits. We're currently in the selection process. But what's important are these stars. Public opportunities for information, input, discussion that exist throughout this process. With that, I will say thank you very much for your kind attention.